Welcome back to Liberty and Finance. This is your host, Dunnigan Kaiser, and we're broadcasting this live from the Rules Symposium on Natural Resources Investing in Boca Raton, Florida. I'm with John Black, the CEO of Aldebaran Resources. He's going to be talking to us about the demand for metals going forward, why they're not being met in the current environment, and what his company is trying to do about it, and why we should care. John, thanks for coming back on Liberty and Finance.
Well, great. Thanks, Dunnigan. And it's outstanding to be here at the conference. Rick puts on a great show and provides, one of the things I like is he provides a lot of information for the people that follow him and listen to his advice, and he encourages them to talk to those of us that are at the conference and learn about it. So we're a group that specializes in identifying and developing large copper deposits, drilling those out to approximately a resource definition stage, and then de-risking them, and then ideally selling them to a major mining company. That's our specialty, that's our niche in the exploration world. And that's particularly important right now because there's an extreme demand for copper as we see a shift to a lower carbon future, which means a lot more electrification. And I think all of us are aware of seeing that in the number of electric vehicles that are on the roads right now, and all that electricity has to be generated from somewhere. So wind turbines, solar fields, those all require copper to transmit that electricity. And I think one of the shocking statistics that really brings it into focus for me is that if we look at all the copper that has been consumed in the world to date, we will need that much copper in the next 22 years to reach the goals of electrification that are planned by world leaders. And as an industry, that's going to be quite a challenge for us to deliver that metal. So as a consequence, the metal prices will likely go up to meet those demands. So I think we're in an ideal location with our company, with our hands on a very large copper deposit. We're drilling that out, showing the full potential of it. And I think projects like that will be highly sought after in the very near future.
While we're still talking about copper demand, that's one of the things that I keep getting told by experts in the field. This was new to me. It's not the only example where big decisions are made by the big thinkers in Washington or around the world, and then they go talk to their execution strategists, and they say, we need, like in the case of electric vehicles, great idea because you can find low polluting ways of making electricity in the first place, but then how do you get the power out there if the distribution grids aren't ready and so on? So that's another demand besides the cars themselves, is getting the distribution grid upgraded and everything to carry the power. So lots of demand, we're told. And the other thing we're told is that over the past couple of decades there's been a tremendous underinvestment in both exploration and development in most of the major mining areas compared to the demand spike. Did you want to address that?
Absolutely. And we've become, our industry has always been a cyclical industry with prices going up and down as investment firms. But one thing that I've noticed over the decades I've been in the business is that companies are no longer allowed to have the foresight to look several decades in the future. There's a lot more focus on return immediately. And so companies tend to cut their exploration divisions and not be identifying the projects for the future. And my background is I'm an exploration geologist. I started off working for major mining companies and then jumped over into the junior world because I saw an opportunity for us to be able to move more quickly in the junior world, and that we essentially replaced the exploration divisions of major mining companies. We can work a little more flexibly and move a little more quickly. But the important thing that when you take a look at investing in this space is to identify projects before their full value is known. So you're trying to find a project as it's emerging and as it's taking off, and you're trying to identify a metal that will be needed soon. So in the great basket of forward-facing commodities or metals that will become important as we go through this electrification process, we've seen a few particular commodities take off very notably, or we've seen lithium spike like crazy and go up. Copper is one I think is a little bit of a sleeper. I don't think people fully recognize how much copper will be in demand in the next few years and how much will be necessary for us to produce that. And it's fundamental to lithium potentially could be replaced by hydrogen or other alternatives to store or generate or electricity. Copper's fundamental no matter what process you're looking at on it going forward. So when I look at the various metals we could be exploring for, not only is my background primarily in copper, but I realize copper is just a fundamental metal that will be necessary for any aspect of the process we're going through.
You reminded me when you mentioned that you need to position yourself as a contrarian, where there's been underinvestment, that's an opportunity to get into. Rick Rule, and I'm mentioning again, we're at the Rule Symposium on Natural Resource Investing. Rick Rule only invites companies to this symposium in which he sees particular latent value. He's always talked to us through the years on our channel about how he says you can either be a contrarian or you can be a victim, because he's always trying to be in the place that nobody wants to be, and that's how he's made his fortune. So here's a question for you. In your view, why would Rick Rule, a contrarian who sees value that others, before others see it, be drawn to your company? What raised his attention about your company?
Well, I think one of the things is that we've known Rick for a long time. Our Aldebaran's actually our third company we've had with our same management team. Our first company was called Antares Resources, and with Antares we had the good fortune to discover a major copper deposit in Peru, which we drilled out, and we sold the first quantum minerals for about $650 million in 2010. So we'd invested a little over $50 million into the project and sold it for $650 million. So a great return for our shareholders, and Rick participated in our first story. That's one of the things is when you look for companies to invest in the resource sector, look for companies that have had success, that have completed their business plan. A lot of groups you'll see, they'll change. If lithium's hot today, they'll do this. The next time they're on to vanadium, the next time they're on to something else. We've picked an area that fits our specialty, that fits our knowledge base. Those of us as principals, myself, Kevin Heather, who's our Chief Geologic Officer, have lived or worked in South America for many decades now. We know South America well. South America is a great place to be looking for copper deposits. So we can tap on our contacts and our resource and our knowledge of the rocks to identify these projects. And then once we capture them and drill them out, a key test is whether you can do that and then deliver to your shareholders your business plan, what you intended to set out to do. And I think Rick puts a lot of value in companies that have done that before, and we've demonstrated that for him. So we're very much on his radar. We've made money for him effectively before, and he likes the style in which we work and the professionalism we have on the projects. I think in speaking more directly to your point about contrarianism, Aldebaran's a great story in that our principal project is in Argentina. And Argentina has not been known as a mining country, despite having very similar rocks to Chile, which is the #1 copper producer in the world. There are copper deposits in Argentina. It's just there hasn't been the macro setting to allow companies to invest the money necessary to develop those. Argentina's awoken to that fact right now, and they're very serious about establishing a major mining industry. So they're taking steps to encourage us to invest and develop copper mines in Argentina. And it's become quite a hotbed. We're in San Juan province right now, which is one of the most active provinces, I'd argue one of the most active areas in the world right now for copper exploration, with 5 major projects being developed. We're one of those projects. And I think it's a spot to watch for. So a country that wasn't known as a mining country before has suddenly emerged as one of the most attractive. A good way to take a look at that is the recent Fraser Institute. And Fraser Institute, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, puts out an index every year of attractiveness for mining investment. And San Juan province in Argentina has been rated just a month or two ago as the most attractive destiny for foreign investment in mining in all of Latin America. And that's quite a change. 5 years ago, they would have been quite low on that list. 10 years ago, they would have been the bottom of that list. And so it's a good spot to watch as a contrarian investor looking for Argentina as an emerging hotbed.
Well, and investors have experienced delays and delays and delays in some jurisdictions from permitting or road building or whatever yet developed infrastructure necessary for the success of development and that kind of thing. So when you see an opportunity where the environment, meaning the political environment or the logistical environment, is improving, that's probably a leading indicator of where you're going to have future success there.
Absolutely. It's one of the few places. Most parts of the world right now are either talking about increasing tariffs or taxes on mining, or putting more bureaucracy in place, more permits that we need to make. It's kind of refreshing being in Argentina, moving in the opposite direction.
Well, folks, if you want to find out more, look in the description of this video. There'll be information on the company itself. But if you could give people the best tips on if they want to find out more about your company, where they should go.
Absolutely. Please go to our website. There are some outstanding videos on our website, primarily produced by or presented by Kevin Heather, who's our Chief Geologic Officer, and he walks through investors on what our business philosophy is, why we choose to explore for copper, and what our strategy is on how we go about it. And he also talks about the results, particularly from our Altar project, which is our flagship project for Aldebaran, demonstrating how it's already a very large copper deposit. It already fits the criteria to be of interest to a major mining company. But recent work that we've been completing the past few months and announcing the last few months is indicating it's about to become even larger than we knew it to be before. And he breaks that down into layman's terms so people can understand what we're doing. So some great references there. And you can find on our website ways to contact us. Please be in touch with us. We'd love to explain more about what we do, who we are, or even just the copper industry in general or Argentina.
Well, that's one of the things we've found at our channel back in 2013 about preparedness. And part of preparedness is always positioning yourself ahead of the opportunity or the need or the concern. Because if you wait for the crowd to figure it out, it's going to be difficult or impossible in some cases to crowd into that situation. So
absolutely,
being positioned in copper in the world that we're heading into just seems to be a natural fit. So grateful for your joining us here on Liberty and Finance.
Great, thanks, Duncan.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and this is the Miles Franklin Weekly Special for July 24th through July 31st, 2023, while supplies last. And on this one, supplies may not last long, because this week we featured 2023 American Silver Eagles at just $6.99 over spot, our lowest price on Silver Eagles in more than a year. Since its first release almost 40 years ago, the Silver Eagle has been, without exception, the world's most popular bullion coin, which provides unparalleled recognizability and liquidity. It's 3/9 fine, comes 22 a tube, 500 to a box, and is available at just $6.99 over spot while supplies last. Finally, the Silver Eagle is IRA eligible. And if you'd like to learn more about a precious metals IRA, call us, and we'll be happy to help you in that process. To order our specials or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.